Hello everyone, it's Will back with another video on Prizepicks here for Sunday, May 21st. Going to be going over NBA and MLB. Going to start off with NBA, one play here. Going to go over fantasy score, taking Jaylen Brown more on 36 fantasy score. So the Boston Celtics, I expected them to win game 2 because they were at home. They couldn't go down 0-2, but they somehow did, and now they have to head to South Beach down 0-2. This is basically a must-win now. It's going to be tough because Miami's playing on their home court, but the line, if you look at Vegas, the Celtics, they're still going to be favored. They're 3.5 favorites here on the spread, and 213.5 total. Not going to be any high totals really when you look at the playoffs and also these two teams playing slow. But Jaylen Brown at 36 in a must-win game for the Celtics. He's going to play a ton of minutes. Last game, he played 37.8, and he really could have played more. But if you look at the game flow here, so he subs out here at 3:36 in the first, and then the Celtics, they go on an 11-2 run, and then a 10-0 run to start the second. So they really kind of pulled away here, but then of course the Heat, they made a run of their own 19-2. But if the Celtics didn't make these two runs here, they would have subbed Jaylen Brown in earlier. It's just kind of how teams play. If they're making a run, they tend to stick with the five that they have on the court. So I would think he could probably play 40 minutes here in this one. We've seen him play 40, even 42 in some of the past playoff games this year. So in what is a must-win, he's going to probably see more minutes. And then you look at what he did that game. I mean, he was terrible shooting overall too. No peripherals in the first, and then in the second he did get one rebound, but he just pretty much didn't do anything other than shoot. And 7 for 23, 1 for 7 on threes. Didn't get to the free throw line. Rebounds were low. Assists pretty much normal. No stocks. He's not a big steals blocks guy, but he usually does get one. So it was just a really bad game for Jaylen Brown. I expect him to really bounce back here. The Celtics need him. Tatum had a good game up until the fourth, and if the Celtics are going to win, they're going to need Jaylen Brown to definitely step up here in game 2 to help out Tatum. And another thing is that the Celtics, they actually opened up the second half with Derek White ahead of Robert Williams, and this would be a slight bump to Jaylen Brown because of they're going small, so there's going to be more boards for Brown. Obviously Tatum as well, but Brown, the line that we're taking here, so it can definitely help his rebounding. So really liking 36 fantasy score. You look at the Vegas odds, he's pretty much projected for 35.95 if you do the calculations, and you usually do see these fantasy score lines a little bit higher than what the Vegas projection is, just because you have that cushion of they can go over any particular stat category, and obviously that's why you then take the fantasy score, because you get all of the stats included in this. Whatever they do, whatever stats they get, it's already included in fantasy score. For the next plays, we're going to go to MLB. So we will go with the first one. Is going to just be a individual play. Riley Green over 6.5 on the more. Riley Green is taking on Josiah Gray, and Josiah Gray, he's been better when it comes to taking on left-handed batters. Taking a look at what he's done on the year, or what he has done in the past 2 years first. So his struggles versus left-handed batters, just the difference is enormous. You know, the WOBA, the ISO, and then the fly ball rate, like that is insane when you see a 53% fly ball rate. And that is pretty important for a guy like Riley Green because he is a ground ball hitter, very high ground ball percentage. And then this year, Josiah Gray, he's improved against lefties. He's added a cutter, so that's part of the reason, or really has been the key to why he's been better. And you see in the stats here, he's actually allowed or been better against lefties than righties even. And his fly ball rate, though, is still, he's really having those issues. So that's a good thing for Riley Green, someone that struggles to put the ball in the air. And then taking a look at what his numbers do look like. So really not bad at all. But his expected ERA is about 1 run higher than what his actual ERA is. So expecting some negative regression here. And then the hits, runs, and RBIs line for Riley Green. It is minus 135 on the over 1.5 37.5. Yeah. And then his walks are a plus 135, which is actually really good for someone who doesn't walk a ton, just because of how much Josiah Gray struggles. And when you do look at the history, he just walks a ton of lefties, and that's still been the case even though he's been better against lefties. So maybe, instead of giving up hits and home runs, he's just kind of saying, I'm going to miss outside the zone. So still a very high walk rate to lefties, and that's a good thing because he's also been, or Riley Green rather, he's been stealing bases a lot more. He has 5 on the year. He hasn't been caught yet. And if you're walking, obviously, you get on first, you have the opportunity to steal second as long as nobody's in the base ahead of you. So that's a plus, but we're not expecting him to steal one. The odds are plus 700 on it, but he has shown the willingness to run. The rule changes do help base stealing, so a lot of good things pointing to this play, and he's a 6.5, and he's not someone that does get pinch hit for, so that's a plus here as well. And then the next two plays, they're going to be part of a stack, so it's going to be Bo Bichette and Vlad over 8 and over 7.5. When I was looking at the BVP for Dean Kremer against these Blue Jays, I was pretty surprised to see just how poorly the Jays have done. You look at these hits and at-bats, it's like, how was Bo 2 for 14 and Springer 1 for 13, 0 for 10 for Chapman? Like, how is this possible? Because Dean Kremer, he is not a good pitcher, as you can see, and there's really nothing special about Kremer. His stuff has never been good. He's a below average pitcher, and really, his expected ERA is terrible. Like, he should be worse than he is so far this season. In terms of splits, he's been worse against lefties, but he's not been good against righties either. This Jays team is predominantly right-handed heavy, so we're going to see a slew of righties. These are the best hitters on the Blue Jays anyway. And Kremer, you can see his stats. He's just not good. Fly ball, hard hit rate, all of that. It's really not great. And the thing for why I'm not afraid or worried about this is look at the StatCast expected batting average, all the expected numbers here. His batting average, like for Bichette, 143, but his expected batting average is 306. So that just shows you that these Jays have been very unlucky. They've been able to hit the ball. Like these strikeout numbers, they're low, right? Like Springer, he's never struck out against Kremer. And Bichette, Vlad, they've been good. They see the ball well. Their numbers are really good in the expected category. It just hasn't translated for whatever reason. And when you do have a case of unlucky hitters versus a very lucky pitcher in terms of the history and also on the season against other teams, this is kind of like a recipe for success for the Jays here. For Kremer, right? 247 batting average, but expected numbers a lot worse. And another plus thing about this matchup is the Adley Rutschman. He's caught the past 2 games for the Jays, and usually catchers, they will get an off day on Sunday. Now, Adley Rutschman is one of the better catchers in all of the majors, so he does play a lot more compared to other catchers, and it's also because of his bat. They want him in there hitting, but that's what the DH spot is for. And we could see him just DH and have James McCann, who's the other catcher. And in terms of catching, James McCann is far worse. Holding runners are just not good at preventing base stealing. So if it is James McCann catching, that's going to boost some of these stolen base numbers. Right now, Bichette's a plus 700 for stolen bases. And I would think that could be like a plus 500 if McCann's going to be catching over Adley. In terms of hits, runs, and RBIs, both Bichette and Vlad are at 2.5 lines, plus 120 on the over. 275 for Bichette on the walk, plus 250 for Vlad. And Vlad was actually at 8, but he bumped to 7.5 because of the last 5. The box, the game log watchers, they see he's not been good the last 5 games, but this is definitely not something that you should be doing. I always say that don't do this. Don't look at the past 5. Don't look at the red, the green. And Vlad, his numbers, he's actually been unlucky. His numbers indicate that he's going to be just headed for better days. And another thing, there's a bunch of things here really, but for the Orioles, this matchup today or on Saturday, they wanted the extra innings and they had to use a lot of their bullpen. So Cano and Batista, they pitched on back-to-back days, and Batista, he's thrown 56 pitches. he's a closer. He pitched 2 innings on Saturday, and I would expect him to be not able to pitch. He's not going to be available on Sunday because he's just pitched way too much. Cano's pitched back-to-back days, and they're probably going to have to roll with their weaker arms. So if it does get to that part of the game where it's a close game, the Baltimore Orioles are going to be using their bullpen. They don't have their best guys, and that's a big benefit because you're just not facing off in the tough matchups. So you get an easy matchup in Kremer to start the game, and then you get an easier than usual matchup later on if it does turn into when the bullpen has to come in for Baltimore. So a lot of good things for this Blue Jays side. I think the starting matchup against Kremer, it's a good thing for all of these Blue Jays bats. And then you can also add George Springer. He's at 7.5 if you want to just full game stack, because the Jays, they do have over 4.5 is minus 130 when I last checked for their run total. Yeah, minus 130. So that's going to be one of the higher totals on the slate. Obviously, Houston, you see at 5.5, New York, but that's all because of the ballpark and the matchup taking on some of the worst teams. So I do like this Blue Jays stack. I think it's probably one of the better ones on the slate when you factor in their lines. They're only at 7.5 and 8. So those are going to be the 4 plays for today. Jaylen Brown, Riley Green, Bo Bichette, and Vlad for this Sunday, May 21st. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like. You can check out our Proptimizer, which does include a lot of the odds comparisons to sportsbooks, which is what you want to target on Prizepicks. Trying to find the best edge on this website, what to pick. You just are able to capitalize, make more money that way. And that's included along with all the rest of the picks, the live plays that I drop, sniper, as well, that you see on these videos usually. So that is it for the video. Hopefully you do make some money on this weekend on Sunday. Thank you guys for watching once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.